Hello everybody, this is William Randolph and it is my pleasure to be with you today. I hope this video finds you well. I took a little time off just to relax and refresh and just observe, but I've been seeing some very interesting dialogue and content on the new executive order, and I thought this might be one to come out of retirement and semi-retirement to talk about. I wrote a couple notes down because I just wanted to make sure that I got everything right. So on this new executive order that just came out last month, April 30th, promoting efficiency, accountability, and performance in federal government contracts, otherwise known as the Firm Fixed Price Directive. I just want to just give you a couple of my thoughts. First is calm down. It's okay. This is not, it's got a few wrinkles in it, a few new wrinkles, but this is actually describing or reinforcing some of the things, some infrastructure that was already in place from a contract review, contract selection, contract type selection standpoint. I actually think it's bad branding. Okay, that when you actually, after you dissect it, it's like, oh, they're really talking about this thing over here, and it could have had a better title. So let's dive into it. First, I think it's much to do about not a lot. Okay, it's much to do about not a lot. Fixed price contracts are the standard and have been the standard. Now they're the default, but it still have been the standard. I'm gonna give you a little data to support that. $793 billion. That was the spend last year, FY25, minus OTs, so other transactions, not counting other transactions, $793 billion. That's a big number, but think about $793 billion as compared to $500 billion or $490 billion. That was the number, 490 billion was the number of commercial goods and services in FY25. Now, if you know anything about commercial goods and services, they shall be fixed priced. Okay, so right out of the bat, you can take 62% right out of the pie. It's like, that's already been fixed priced, or in some version of fixed price contract. So that's a data point just to say, we're really only talking about a third of the government contracting spend that may be influenced. And the influence kind of flows like this. The default, fixed price is the default, have to do a justification for anything other than firm fixed price. Senior level approval and senior agency approval, and I do note that the executive order says or other non-career designee. I was like, interesting. That's a sign. Okay, it's like an agency head, which is a political, or another non-career, which is a political. I was like, interesting. I'll let you draw your own conclusions from that. And then the $10 million threshold for most civilian agencies. DHS is 25 million, NASA's 35, and Department of War is 100 million. That is the signature threshold. Let's go back to that 60%, 62%. Of the 793 billion, 62% of that is commercial goods and services that shall be in some form fixed price. Okay, by directive. Cannot be cost type contracts. So we're talking about that other third. That other third includes time and materials and cost type contracts. Time and materials contracts already have a approval mechanism in them. Okay, inside of government contracting, inside the government, someone has to do a mother may I. Someone said, "Can I use this?" That contract type is so risky, toxic, if you want to use that word in this season, that you have to do a mother may I already. So someone's already that process is already in place. Now it's going to a higher level if it's over the thresholds, but up to the thresholds, the system has already been that for time and materials has already been in place. Cost reimbursable contracts, as you know, that's a high hurdle to jump. Okay, that's a very high hurdle to jump. So it's first is you must have an approved accounting system as a government contractor to be even considered for a cost type contract. And anyone that has been in this space, especially if you cut your teeth in systems acquisitions contracting, so kind of serious negotiations contracting, you know that the cost reimbursable to fixed price, that's a journey. That's a laid out journey. It's moving from the unknown to the known. That's the process. Is to do cost reimbursable activity first, learn something, get some data, get some cost data, and then eventually roll into something more fixed price. Take the journey, shift the pricing risk. So that's actually the model. So I actually think this is this would have been better labeled or better titled, the declaring war on time and materials contracts, because I think that's actually what the focus is. Time and materials contracts, you're buying activity, no defined outcome. Okay, performance-based has been around for a decade, but yet we still have these contracts that don't have a defined outcome. Doing a little research and analysis, 11% of civilian contracts found themselves as time and materials contracts. I thought that was a pretty interesting number in terms of the contract actions, not dollars, but contract actions. Time and materials contracts are about 11% in civilian agencies, as compared to roughly 1% in Department of War. That's significant. That's enough to get somebody's attention. One of the things, and especially as a former head of contracting activity, one of the things you always have to think about, or one has to think about in these situations, is: are you dealing with a disease, or are you dealing with the symptoms? And in this case, time and materials contracts are a symptom. They're not a disease. They're not causal. This is a response. Time and material, the excessive use of time and materials contracts, that's a symptom. And it's often a symptom. I don't hate to talk in absolutes, but it's often a symptom of immature requirements. Okay, requirements have not been vetted enough, matured enough. So as a result of that, it's like we don't really know what the outcome is. So let's just throw it in the time and materials or labor hour bucket. So on some level we're addressing a symptom, not the actual disease. And I think that's going to be one of the manifestations that comes from this. Here's a couple other manifestations. Negotiations are going to matter again. Inside of government, contract specialists, okay, if you haven't done formal negotiations, okay, as someone that spent the first of my 30-year career, the first 15 years of my career, it was launched and spent in Department of Defense, where negotiations, at a systems command, where negotiations were a thing. You actually sit down across with somebody and you threw numbers back and forth. That's going to become a skill set again. Having had some experiences, another 10, 15 years in civilian agencies, there's a lot of procurement that goes on, but not a lot of negotiations. We're going to be back to that because one of the directives out of the executive order is to look at the top 10 non-fixed price contracts and roll those things, or find a way to get them into a fixed price environment, which is the normal model. That's the way it's normally done. So I guess it's nice to have some energy behind it, but has been a thing for decades, if you will. That's the goal, is to move from the unknown cost reimbursable activities to the known fixed price, the fixed price family of activities. So I think that's going to be another outcome that's going to come from this. Fixed price directives, you always have to be concerned about directives, because directives they get over relied on. So as a result of this, here's another one that I think some things are going to fall into the fixed price bucket that actually should have been in the cost reimbursable environment. There's a reason for those. It's, again, the unknown. You get some cost insight first, backed by truthful cost and pricing data. It's like, we're going to trust you to give us information to negotiate on, and then we're going to and then we're going to negotiate and then hopefully get to a fixed price environment. So I think the last thing, which is probably number 4, is going to be a chilling effect on cost reimbursables on fixed price contracts. Okay, there's going to be a chilling effect when getting to fixed price contracts, especially because of anytime you have a signature environment or an approval environment, it always has a chilling effect. No one really wants to go and go to the flag and get permission. So you're going to have some things that should actually have been cost reimbursable contracts that are going to find their way into fixed price, going to be shoved into a fixed price environment. So all that, I say all that to say it's okay. Calm down. I think it's going to be fine. There's going to be a focus. There's going to be a reaction to this. I love to see that they've dictated training, so that's good. So if anyone wants to have a conversation of what that training should look like, what should be a part of that, reach out. I'll be happy to have a conversation with you about that. But all this said, it's okay. It's sub-optimized branding. It's really, I think it's really a focus on time and materials contracts in a performance-based environment, which is a good thing. But just know that there's already those mechanisms were already in place, and it's just the big ones. So if you think about the thresholds that have been set, everything under the thresholds will still be moving as it should have been before. So thank you for the time, and all the best. Be well.